historian John Cox has been obsessed with Houdini since childhood.
The fundamental facts of Houdini's death have been well covered in biographies. He died from peritonitis, which is a massive infection one gets if your appendix rupture, from appendicitis. But something has been missed, and it's something that I think is very important and may be a contributing factor to his death.
One theory suggests that student J. Gordon Whitehead, who punched Houdini in the abdomen, may have been an assassin sent by spiritualists who the magician exposed as frauds. But is this possible?
People like to speculate that a cabal of Montreal spiritualists that wanted Houdini dead, they like to set Whitehead up as a villain, but the evidence for that is sketchy.
No connection between the student and any nefarious groups has ever been found. More importantly, it was common for Houdini to allow fans to strike his abdomen to show off his conditioning. This leads to a critical question. Is it even theoretically possible that a strong punch could rupture a person's appendix?
Did Whitehead's punch kill Houdini? Some people will say no, that's not possible. But there are rare cases of traumatic appendicitis. It can happen. Or was it simply that Houdini was developing appendicitis and Whitehead's punch simply made him ignore the pain in his stomach? And you could say that Whitehead's punch killed him in that way, by giving him a reason to not be alarmed by the pain in his stomach.
Okay, so perhaps Houdini's death was simply the result of an unfortunate accident. But after discovering a lost trove of letters hidden in Houdini's archives, John Cox insists there's a much bigger story here that everyone has overlooked.
For the past 15 years, I've really been delving into primary research. That's reading diaries and letters. In one of the letters, after Houdini broke his ankle, he says he had a look at his contracts going forward. And what he found was a clause in the contract that said, should he be unable to perform, he's on the hook $1,000 a night to the theater.
$1,000 in 1926 is the modern equivalent of being fined almost $18,000 per day. Horrified by the penalty if he canceled a show, it seems Houdini decided to keep performing, despite his ankle, despite the punches to the gut, despite the apparent appendicitis.
I think he was thinking, I'm gonna push through, perform with the pain, and get through these next 3 weeks, not missing a night, or else I'm gonna have to pay a lot of money. So we gotta factor that into his thinking, that maybe he delayed going to the doctor because he knew there was this contract clause hanging over him. And of course, 2 weeks later, Houdini is dead.
We can say with confidence that Houdini died from a blood infection caused by a ruptured appendix. There's no evidence that points to assassins, but we now know that there may well have been another culprit here, Houdini himself. The now disclosed financial penalty for not performing likely colored Houdini's decisions and may have ultimately cost him his life. He might have lived to perform for many years to come, if only, for once, he believed that the show must not go on. From a mystery about someone we all know to the mystery of a treasure most never knew existed. It's 2005 and I'm about 200 miles northwest of Philadelphia in a remote area known as Dent's Run. This is a prime patch of forest if you're hunting deer, but if you believe the conspiracy theorists, there may be an even more valuable quarry right under my feet. Millions of dollars worth of solid gold bars, rumored to be buried by Union soldiers during the Civil War. Behind me is father and son team Dennis and Kem Parada. They've spent years searching for this lost loot, and they're about to hit pay dirt. Dennis and Kem run a treasure hunting company called Finders Keepers. But as we'll soon see, you don't always get to keep what you find. The legend is this. It's 1863, and as the Civil War rages on, Union soldiers load a government shipment of 26 gold bars, worth over $50 million today, onto an Army caravan near West Virginia. The soldiers are under secret orders to take the gold to the United States Mint in Philadelphia, where it will be used to pay for the war effort. 11 soldiers and 2 wagons begin the 350-mile journey to Philadelphia, but 60 miles into their trek, with Confederate forces patrolling nearby and the Battle of Gettysburg on the horizon, they decide to veer northward near the Allegheny River. The caravan advances slowly through the muddy, rocky terrain until the wagon breaks down in an area known as Dent's Run. Several of the soldiers leave to get help. But when they return 3 days later, they find the soldiers they left behind and all the gold have vanished into thin air, leaving only an empty wagon. If you believe the stories, the Union soldiers stole the gold, burying what they couldn't carry. Let's be clear, all of this is the stuff of legend, because the big problem, and it is a really big problem, is that no official government records of the gold or its disappearance has ever been found. Believers of this extraordinary story say there are no records because of a cover-up. Losing this much gold would have been a huge embarrassment to the Union. Perhaps they didn't want to leave a paper trail. With no public news stories, memory of this fabled event fades. That is until the early 1970s, when a series of articles in treasure hunting magazines give the legend of Dent's Run new life. The articles claim that in 1865, government detectives allegedly recovered 2.5 bars of gold buried under a nearby pine stump. In the decades following, a steady stream of treasure hunters descend on Dent's Run, hoping to find the rest of the gold. And that includes Dennis and Kem Parada in 2005. As they make their way through a dry riverbed, their metal detector sounds off like they've hit the mother lode. Digging down about 6 inches, they find intriguing artifacts: bottles, broken glass, an animal trap, and bullets. With his background in antiquing, Dennis has a hunch that these are all Civil War era. And then, Dennis notices a small cave hidden in the side of the hill. Father and son prepare to venture inside, hoping that the moment they've dreamed of is about to arrive. Let me tell you, as someone who's chased my fair share of lost treasure, nothing gets your heart pumping quite like stepping into a dark, unexplored cave. And what these 2 men find next will set into motion one of the greatest treasure hunting mysteries of the modern era. Journalist David Howard has done an in-depth investigation of this story and offers detailed insight into the events surrounding the case.
When they started exploring this cave, it was very narrow, very wet in there, sort of an unpleasant experience. But they got inside and they noticed scorch marks on the top of this cave, which told them that someone had potentially set up a camp in there. And if somebody was gonna have left something behind in this area, that would have been a prime place to do it.
About 30 feet from the entrance, they find a vertical shaft, but unfortunately, the entrance is too narrow for either of them to go down. Though they can't physically fit into the tunnel, this doesn't stop the father and son duo from spending the next 9 years searching for gold.
They deployed a number of pieces of technology that let them essentially look down under the surface of the earth. Every one of these tests that the Paradas did, every indication was that it was gold.
But here's the hitch. This potential treasure trove is on state land. As bad as they might want to, the Paradas can't just go digging up Pennsylvania state property. They make the fateful decision to contact the FBI, telling them about their find.
The FBI did its own investigation, and they used a device called a gravimeter, which is one of the most sophisticated methods of exploring what lies beneath the surface of the earth. And what they informed the Paradas about in a phone call was that what they found is gold, and that there was as much as 7 to 9 tons of gold down there, which in today's currency would be somewhere in the range of $400 to $600 million.
The FBI takes control of the dig site, and what happens next is a conspiracy theorist's dream. The FBI asks for permission to dig up this quiet Pennsylvania hillside, and a federal judge approves a search and seizure warrant. 3 days later, the FBI arrives at the location with a backhoe to excavate the site. The Paradas also show up and are eager to take part in discovering what they believe is a stockpile of gold. But what comes next for the Paradas is heartbreaking. They're told by the FBI that they'll have to wait in their car, that there were too many people for them to be safely at the dig site.
After waiting in their car for a good chunk of the day, the Paradas were finally brought up to the dig site. The guy who was leading the project told them, everybody's cold, it's been a long day, we're gonna stop here, and why don't you come back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and we'll continue with the dig at that point. The Paradas took them at their word, didn't think much of it, other than it was kind of a little bit odd how early they decided to pull the plug on the work that day.
The next day, when Dennis and Kem return, the FBI shows them to the site. The crew is finished digging, and there's nothing but a big empty hole. The FBI says they didn't find anything.
In quick order, the FBI disappeared from the site. The Paradas were devastated and confused that nothing at all had been discovered in there.
But for the Paradas, this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of another chapter.
The Paradas started hearing from the residents who lived around Denseron. Somebody asked them, hey, did you see those armored cars go by yesterday? Another neighbor said that she heard large equipment digging of jackhammers rattling all night long. To her, it was very, very clear that work had taken place on that mountaintop throughout that night. Based on the stories that they were hearing from neighbors, they began to suspect that the FBI had actually worked through the night, excavated something, possibly the gold, and driven it away.
Did the FBI really take 9 tons of gold out from under the noses of Dennis and his son? The Paradas are convinced, feeling betrayed by their own government, and they aren't willing to give up easily. In 2022, after 4 years of being stuck in legal limbo, the Paradas decide they have no choice but to file a Freedom of Information request to obtain all documents related to the FBI's dig.
The FBI initially denied that they had any documentation of the dig, which seemed preposterous on its face because the team had watched them shoot video. Eventually, the FBI conceded that they had over 2,300 pages of documents and 17 CDs with videos and photography.
And after years of looking for answers, the Paradas find the smoking gun they were searching for. In the midst of these redacted files and obscured images, they find a video, one that they believe is confirmation that the FBI knew exactly what was underground and are ultimately hiding the truth about what they took from the site.
Good morning. My name is Special Agent with the FBI. We're currently on a site in Denseron, Pennsylvania. We've identified through our investigation a site that we believe has U.S. property, which includes significant sum of base metal, particularly gold, maybe silver, and we've been able to corroborate a lot of the information, especially through scientific testing. And we've identified a site here, which you can see behind me.
For the Paradas, this is definitive proof that the FBI found gold in the exact spot that Dennis and Kem showed them. Witnesses watched as the FBI worked through the night, loaded up armored trucks with a stockpile of gold bars, made off with the stash, and then denied it all.
If the FBI was right, that there was 7 to 9 tons of gold on that hilltop worth between $400 and $600 million. It would have been the most significant find of its kind in American history. Even with the release of the stash of documents and photographs, the team still believes that the FBI is withholding some potentially critical material.
Dennis and Kem Parada believe they are closer than ever to proving that during the Civil War, Union soldiers stole and buried a hoard of treasure. And then, 150 years later, government agents stole it all over again. Although unfortunately for the Paradas, any historical artifact found on state land would belong to the state. So why would the government refuse to admit that it's been located? Whether you believe Dennis Parada or not, it's undeniable that their quest for millions in Civil War gold is impressive. By boldly taking on the FBI and the courts, Dennis has uncovered video and photo evidence that could be viewed as extremely suspicious. The legal drama is ongoing, and the FBI remains unequivocal that they found nothing of value at the site. As for the Paradas, well, it seems they have no choice but to keep on digging for the truth. I'm Josh Gates, and I'll see you on the next expedition.